Welcome everybody. In this video, I'm going to teach you guys how you can always beat Katarina in mid lane. The truth is, if you know the secrets of positioning, wave management, and trading, you'll almost never lose a lane versus her again. And we're going to start with a little bit of a funny story because I used to hate laning against Katarina. I couldn't stand this champion. And this was all the way up until the moment I made the Katarina guide on my coaching program. And for that guide, I had never played Kata in my life before. I played Kata 3 weeks straight. I tried everything. And I was eventually able to teach her. And because I was able to teach her and fully understand what she needed to do to win the game, I now knew how to counter her. The key to understanding how to beat Katarina, guys, is understanding what she wants to do. And for that, we need to understand her lane plan. And we need to understand her trading patterns, okay? And we're going to start with her lane plan. So Katarina can have many different lane plans depending on the setup that she takes. So before we go into trading plans, we're going to start with that. Now, we have to look at her starting item. We have to look at her sum. And we need to look at her rune. And these things are going to dictate the way she's going to play. Starting item, she can either go D-Shield, she can go Dark Shield Refill. Some even like to go D-Blade and All In You. And every single starting setup has a different way of going about it. If they go D-Shield, they think you're going to bully them. If you're playing Victor, for example, a lot of times they're going to go D-Shield. And their All-In is not going to be that strong. They are not going to be that strong in early skirmishes. But they are going to be able to sustain up. And it's pretty hard for you to poke them. So keep in mind that if they go D-Shield, that's the case. If they go Doran's Blade, they are going to all in you on the long lane. Very often, that's also combined with Conquer. Otherwise, they don't really take Doran's Blade. And very often, they actually go Dark Shield Refill because all of these Kata players are greedy bitches. And Dark Shield Refill allows them to just sacrifice a little bit of HP for economy. They can just take an early reset and they're going to flip some skirmishes and get some stacks on the Dark Shield going. That's what most Katarinas will do. Similar, TP or Ignite really makes a difference, guys. If they run Ignite, their all-in ranges on the lane are going to be quite heavily improved. While if they take TP, they just want to avoid the lane and they're just going to eventually take an early reset with TP. Ignite is the more threatening variant. And when it comes to runes, the one you got to keep in mind is Electrocute versus, of course, Conquer. If they go Electrocute, what they're going to do is going to take bursty trades. And if you're low enough, they can all-in you. If they take Conquer, they're just going to get level 2 or 3, and then they're going to just find an opportunity where they can all-in you on the long lane with a lot of auto attacks. That's like basically the Katarina setup options. The lane plan from Kata is, generally speaking, her level 1 is one of the most dogshit level 1s in the game because of the fact that she doesn't really have ways to proc daggers, long cooldowns. It's just really, really, really bad. So level 1 is where she just has to give full priority of the wave. And generally speaking, Kata as a champion doesn't have the strongest lane. She just generally wants to get towards her Gravely Breakpoint, avoid the lane, and then start playing on the map. That's like a high level game plan. But she's a very opportunistic laner. So if you fuck up, and a lot of people will fuck up, that's why people struggle with Kata, that's when they're in a position where they can take a trade onto you. So now let's talk about the trading patterns of Kata. She has 2 trading patterns. Number 1, she uses a Q onto the minion, and then she lays up that dagger onto the minion, and just like this. And if she then is level 2, she's going to jump onto it and she's going to look to proc the Electrocute and then back off. That is a very classic trading pattern. Now, of course, she's level 1, so she's not going to be able to do it. So Katarina players like to lay up the Q by CSing a minion that's low and then placing the dagger next to you. That's one trading pattern. Another trading pattern that they can go for is they just insta jump onto your face. They just insta bam, E on top of you, and then they do the EW. Because the W will then, the dagger will reset the E cooldown. And then they will be able to then jump onto you again because they Q you in the meantime. And then they get all of these daggers. And they do this if they can like fully all in you 100 to 0. That's usually the combo that they go for. But generally speaking, they do the Q layup. The Q layup is the most threatening one because it's the fastest one. Because they already got this dagger. And otherwise they don't get all access to all the daggers. So now let's take a look at the game plan versus Kata, right? We're going to tie it back to these trading patterns a little bit later. Now, one of the key things that we find is that level 1, I'm a little bit slow here. I was like waiting for an invade potentially for the enemies, so I couldn't properly set up the minions. But whenever you play with Kata, you want to set up the minions in such a way that her Q cannot CS all 3 of the creeps at the same time. So what I like to do is attack one of the caster minions, so they auto-attack aggro swaps up, and all 3 of these melees die at different times, and then her Q can only get 1 minion worth of gold. Now in this case, unfortunately, she gets all 3. That's my bad. I was defending the invade, potential invade from the Belvav. Sucks. It is what it is. Now great. As we know, Kata is really weak level 1. So I'm stepping up quite aggressively versus the Kata. I do not want to hit her unnecessarily, because if I hit her unnecessarily, the minion wave is going to do some funky stuff, and my goal is just to deny her minions. So if she's going to give me the trade, I'm going to take it, but I'm not going to brute force it here. You see, I'm taking the level 2 with the wave deep on my side, and that allows me to take a nice little trade with my Q. And this 2-wave crash is generally what you want to do versus Katarina, 2-wave crash. So this is a really good spot. I fuck up my CS, unfortunately. And now, under the tower, you can harass the Kata. You got to keep in mind that she wants to jump, and that the moment that she jumps, you can harass her. So she gets denies a few minions under the tower here. What you find is that Katas will not go for every creep, because they understand how valuable their HP is. Now, this third wave is really important in Kata lanes. You need to grab up level 3 first, and you got to make sure that this wave goes back to neutral, because otherwise she grabs up level 3 while you're still level 2, and then she's going to all-in you down the long lane. That's an opportunity that Kata players will use. So be very careful for that. Besides that, we got to understand that the moment Kata throws out her Q, we want to get away from this dagger. We need to get away from these daggers, because that is her trading opportunity. The moment Katarina jumps onto her dagger, her E cooldown gets refunded, and this scales with levels. Okay, so if she jumps on it right now, her E cooldown is about 3 seconds. If she jumps on it at level 6, her E cooldown is going to be about 2.3 seconds. When she jumps on it like a little bit later in the game, it gets lower, 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 lower. So in the early game, you have a lot of time to actually hit her if she jumps. And that's why Katarinas are not able to take every jump in the early game. So yeah, the main thing that we're going to try to do is we're going to try to time our spells onto the last hits. And we're really happy doing either one of two things. Either we're going to do a big slow build again, and we're going to try to harass her onto the last hits. Or in this case, what we do is we just nicely let the wave get pushed towards our side. Because Katarina in the early game is really weak and has no wave clear strength. So because this Kata actually runs Ignite, I know that she can potentially win extended all-ins on the long lane, and I actually keep the wave a little bit closer towards my side. And wave management is going to be a crucial factor to you allowing yourself being in a position where she cannot really punish you. So what I do right now is I manage the wave where it's kind of stuck on my side, preventing her from taking all-ins. And I try to stand outside of the wave. So I'm never in a position where I'm directly in line with the minions. You see that right here? I'm not standing here. I'm standing right here, because I know that she wants to be able to take these minions. She wants to CS this one, and hit me. But if I stand right here, she needs to make a decision. Am I jumping on the top side and hitting the Ahri, or am I jumping on the bot side and hitting the minions? So standing outside of the wave is an incredibly important fundamental whenever you play against Katarina. And this makes it hard for her to take. So I move away from that dagger and the minion, so I don't allow her to get a high value spell. And this also manages the wave on my side, because Katarina's Q, if she throws it out like that, she's in this position where she is hitting the wave. This is her wave management tool. So you can actually keep the wave on your side by that. And because of that, she's forced to drop creeps. And if she then walks up to that minion, I can now step up right here, standing outside of the wave. Look where I'm standing, right? I'm standing outside of the wave. And because of that reason, the Q also doesn't bounce to me. It bounces to these creeps right here. The dagger is completely useless. She has to drop that creep or her Q is going to be absolutely useless. And this allows me now to walk up forward like that and take a trade onto her. And this is great, right? I just take a nice little trade and I now just freeze the wave state again, because she can't unfreeze it. She needs to use her entire kit to unfreeze it. This wave management is really hard for Kata players to deal with. And because of that reason right now, we're in a really strong position. We've not taken any damage. It's really important in this Kata lane that you don't take any damage, because the moment you drop below 60% HP, you're in kill range. She will be able to just all-in you. Absolutely. So we have a beautiful wave state. We denied her a lot of minions with this wave state, and we're going to keep this wave state alive as much as possible. She's now taking the reset. Fine for me. And I'm just farming it up here. And the moment she goes for a creep, I'm going to try to harass her onto it if I can. You see how I'm standing outside of the minion wave again. I'm not standing here, guys. She will just Q, E, fuck me up. Outside of the wave positioning is really important, because she's going to try these layup Qs. That's what I'm talking about. Now, another trading pattern she can do is to jump in on our face instantly, but that's why we keep our spells. And if she then does that, we instantly W away to get the move speed, and then we can defend ourselves. If you're playing a different champion, like for example Syndra, you can keep your E. The moment she jumps onto you, insta push her away, because you can't use it proactively. You can't charm proactively as well, because what's going to happen is that she's going to instantly jump on your face. So you got to usually use your spells a little bit more reactively versus Katarina, because her E is so good at being reactive. And you see what I just do? I just hold my ground in the wave. I make it hard for her to crash. And the moment she tries to clear the minions, that's when I step up and I try to hit her. And it just leads to a very healthy CS advantage. She is not able to get access to all of the minions while I am. And that's giving me a position where I can slowly get a CS advantage over her. Now, this is a really interesting position. She just laid up her Q here in this minion wave. And that means that I got to be very careful with stepping up. Since I got all my spells, she can't jump onto me and trade onto me. But this minion is quite hard for me to contest because I need to walk all the way around because she will otherwise send it. And that means that I'm just going to go and Q the minion because I know that I cannot absolutely walk up and get that. And my rebound of the Q actually gets a nice little hit onto her. And I'm just really slowly trading. And I know that she's going for these plays. And this was a really important charm. Why can I throw this charm out? Because I know that she's still on cooldown with her E. Her E cooldown, like I said, is 3 seconds. So I knew that I could charm and there wasn't a way for her to dodge it yet. So I'm being insanely intentional with my spell usage. And because I'm not wasting any of my spells and I'm not giving her an opportunity to trade onto me with my positioning, with my wave management, and with my spell usage, I'm in a position where I can just slowly choke her out. And that's the downside of playing Kata. If the enemy plays well, it's hard for her to manage through the lane. So once again, standing outside of the wave, she Qs the minion, so I thin it out a little bit as well. And in this case, it was pretty hard for me to trade. Of course, she's based. I haven't based yet. I know that she's going to try to base again after pushing that wave state. And it means that I'm now going to look to hard push this next wave here as well and get my own reset off. So we now got Lost Chapter and we're going to rinse and repeat the entire position, right? We're going to look to trade onto the Kata. And this was a really good example of a trading pattern. She already starts pushing the wave. And a key specific thing that a lot of Kata players will do is this. They do Q and then they E onto the Q, onto this dagger. They instantly press W. Why do they do that? Because they expect you to throw their spells onto them. Because at that point, what you're going to do is they get the move speed from the W and they can dodge out on your spells. So they're hyper aware of it. So that's exactly what he does. And then he walks away and he now takes up this part of the dagger again. And then he can use this dagger to lower his cooldown and then jump away again. So after the jumps is when I trade and I do the W out attack Q combo to proc the electrocute. And I'm now in a position where I'm in full control. Now, once again, I try to hold this minion. This minion, I try to hold it because if I hold it, I can hold the wave on my side and it's hard for her to own me. But the Riot creep aggro fucking trolls me and the minion just suicides in the tower. And that sucks. No problem. Neutral wave state. Kata wants to avoid the lane, guys. If you play well outside of the wave, you see I'm constantly standing outside of the wave here. Never giving her the ability to lay up a Q and then jump onto me. I am not giving her that opportunity. So I stand constantly outside of the wave and I make it impossible for her to jump onto me. And I'm in this position where I'm in full lane control right now. I could hard push if I want, if something's happening on the map, but I'm just looking to try to harass the Kata and make her sweat onto these creeps. You see that she's got no Q right now. Okay, try a little bit of a charm. That's fine in this case because of the fact that I'm quite strong and there's a lot of lane space that I can play upon. And I'm just really, really, really slowly choking her out, guys. That's like the mindset. Very slow gameplay, really slow wave management, never wasting my spells for no reason. And if she messes up, that's when I actually collapse onto her. So she tries to do some interesting trading parts. She wastes all her cooldowns. And now she's basically stuck in a position where she's constantly responding to waves. And that's also the reason why we slow push. Because if we hard push, she's going to be in a spot where she could potentially like nuke the wave and make plays on the side. And by slow pushing all the time, we prevent her from doing that. You see, I'm constantly dancing away from these daggers. Really slow trading. And I'm just trying to deny her last hits. And now I've just got myself a 25 CS lead over the course of this lane. This is what it's all about, guys. This is what playing versus Kata is about. If you do not nail these early levels and she gets stronger than you, she's going to impact the map. She's going to roam. Now, there's a final thing I'd like to note is that post her wave clear breakpoint, right, you want to be quite careful with giving her opportunities to actually roam around the map. Because she will get some opportunities if you mess up resets or mess up tempo. So every single time in the review that Kata gets the first move, you then need to investigate how you gave her the first move and what you could have done to prevent that, either with your wave management, with your resets, or with your trading. Now, let's take a look at another Kata trading pattern that is very, very common here. Is that Katas do this, right? They try to then trade onto you, but because I hold my spells, I'm always fine. So you hold your spells, you hold, and then you can always use them reactively. If I would use my charm, she could actually go in. I think I even should even rushed my Q a little bit. What I should just do is out attack, W, out attack, W, out attack, and now I should Q afterwards. And that would put me in a spot where I land the Q. And she's probably dead if she does that. probably committed suicide right there if I help my Q. So you want to hold your Q and not really be enticed to throw it out, because she's going to jump over it, guys. She has the ability to jump over your spells and do some mean stuff. And for starting from this position, there's just no way back. We're up 30 CS. We got a plate. And we can just kind of stat check her from this point. So if you have any other questions or you want to see a specific champion reviewed next time, let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys there.